Hi, I'm Neil Sackmary.
Hi, I'm State Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division, PEIO. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Trooper Talk.
And together, we can make a difference. Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with this edition of Trooper Talk. We have Trooper Hagstrom, we have Officer McClarty, and please introduce yourself and tell us what it is that you do.
Hello, my name is Seiko Pauluhi, and I'm currently a public safety dispatcher with Nevada State Police.
Well, we're very happy that you're here on this edition of Trooper Talk. We have a lot of questions for you, but I just wanted to start off this morning with something that happened that I saw on the news, okay? I always like to throw these guys curveballs, you know what I mean? They never know what to expect. I have a couple things. First thing is, somebody lost their life again last night because of a driver that was suspected of driving impaired. Again, not commenting on a specific thing because it's under preliminary investigation and all this stuff. Okay, but like another person not only lost their life, you had to get up, you had to take phone calls, you had to do things. Okay, instead of spending time with your family, and someone lost their life again traveling on our roadways because someone didn't spend $10 on a Uber or rideshare or call a friend or something. It's
mind-boggling. It is. You know, and so far for Nevada, coming up on April right now, we're at 97 fatalities statewide, and it's just unacceptable. This last fatal that we had this last Sunday was a person driving impaired, and I can't talk about the whole details about it, but there was a young woman that was struck and killed. And of course, the driver, who was impaired, lived and is now in Clark County detention, waiting for a hearing.
She was a young woman.
Yes, 23 years old.
Again, not
23.
You know what I mean, like of what was announced on the local news media. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But like this woman had her whole life ahead of her and is not here anymore because someone didn't take the time and made this choice and didn't care.
Yeah, that's coming back to what we were talking about before, is planning ahead, right? We've talked about this numerous times. We don't mind people going out and partying and having a good time and celebrating whatever they want to celebrate, but you should always plan ahead and have a taxi, a rideshare, maybe a designated driver, a friend that's not going to drink that evening, or even during the day. I mean, we have these things happen during the day. It's like 24/7. I mean, we're an entertainment town, but this is unacceptable because we shouldn't have somebody lose their life, especially that young, by somebody being selfish for themselves, going out and drinking. So there's just no excuses, Neil.
No excuse.
No excuses.
Officer McClarty, you do your due diligence every single solitary day to try to get more troopers on the road. Aside from doing your parole and probation, which we've talked about, which is why you're an officer, not a trooper, but you still share the same blood. And so you drive around and you see these people, and these people go sometimes under your supervision because they have done these horrific crimes and they don't realize that there are penalties aside from, again, I can only imagine what psychologically in somebody's mind that they know that they took someone's life and that they have to live for the next 50 years. You know what I mean? And that's something that you do aside from the fact of doing the recruiting to try to get more troopers on the road.
Yeah, aside from that mental toll that they're going to have for the rest of their life, from their couple hours of drinking, choices that they had, now they're affecting possibly the 50 plus years that they may have taken away from somebody. So now they may, depending on how that investigation goes, they may have to deal with us and be supervised by us for, a numerous amount of years because of that choice that they made.
And it's just terrific. And so I wanted to get to you. Appreciate you coming. But I saw this on the news this morning, and I saw this young woman get her life taken away by someone who was doing this. And it's like, it's too much. And so people have to know that there are real consequences to the fact of that if they do these type of crimes and they end up in the back of a squad car and go to that horrific place called the Clark County Detention Center, and they have to stay there, it's not fun. And so then they have the opportunity of dealing with you, and you're very fun. We know that because we get you to laugh all the time.
Well, let's reiterate too what happens too. You got to hire an attorney, and that's going to be $10,000 or $15,000 just to retain an attorney, and then you're going to have to go to court. You're going to have special insurance just because you have a DUI on your record if you get convicted, and your name gets out there in the paper. Your neighbors, everybody knows about this. What about your work? What if your work requires you to drive for them daily? That affects everything. So you got to think that what you do always has consequences. So and we did a whole show about planning ahead. You know what I mean? And no excuses for this. But people need to know the other side of the factor. You just took a family member that won't be there for Thanksgiving, Christmas, all the holidays. I mean, I list them all here, but that's a person that's not going to be sitting at the dinner table every day. And it's a father or a brother or a sister, like we were talking about. That family it's tragic for that family for the rest of their lives, because they're missing their loved one. And you took it away from them. And now you got to sit there and think about that in your mind, how you've destroyed another family, and then you got to suffer the consequences for it. So,
forever.
Yeah.
I want to get to you. How's recruiting going? Still working hard.
Recruiting's good, yeah.
Right? Getting more people, right? Look at her smiling, right?
I have record numbers
Yeah.
for April 27th testing date.
That's great.
I have 50 people that have signed up to, show interest to come out to that testing date.
50 people.
I hope they all show up.
I hope
bring
they all
some
show
more.
up.
Bring
And
their friends.
That goes. It
Yeah.
goes to the testament of what you're doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? How you do things that no one else does, and so we
Fingers are crossed. There's wood inside here somewhere.
right. Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah. All right. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. When I said hello to you today, I presented you with Sergeant Abate and Trooper Felix Patch. And you said to me, I was there that night. And I said, okay, I don't want to know anything about it. Because what we found is that the first reaction is the one that is the most heartfelt. Not that I want to see you get emotional, but when we come on Trooper Talk, we talk about going inside the life of the Nevada State Police so that no one ever has to be put into that position where they have to use their firearm or do things that they don't want to do when they're out there protecting our city and actually our whole entire state for that matter, right? Okay. Let's talk about the fact that you were there that day. And let's start at the beginning, and that will help people to understand what you've had to go through, because you, although you don't wear a uniform and you're in dispatch, you still go through the same emotions and things like that because you're with them, and you know them when we had Whitney on and when we had Miss Stevenson come on, and you can tell by their voice, and you can tell by the tones of their voices, and you know who they are on the radio, right? So, not to say a normal evening, does that make sense? But take us through some of the steps before that happened.
It was just, like you said, it was not like a normal, but it was just another day, There was a few of us, and we actually had one of our supervisors there, and I'm actually one of the newer dispatchers that was there. I've only been here for 2 years. So, we had them go out on a motorist assist, and We didn't think anything of it, you know, we ran what they needed, we attached things, we let them know all the information that we needed to provide them in order to keep them safe, you know. And all of a sudden we have other units that are going to them to assist because, you know, a lot of times when we have situations like that where we have people who are asleep behind the wheel, you know, sometimes their car's still on and their foot is on the brakes, but, you know, when they wake up suddenly, you don't know what's going to happen or you don't know what's going to take place. So we sent other units to them, and at that moment, all of a sudden, you know, our secondary unit, or our third unit actually got on scene, and they were like, well, we don't know where they are. And that was something for us that, you know, we were like, well, what do you mean? We can't see what's going on. You know, it was dark. We're not there physically, so we're kind of like lost, and we're kind of trying to figure out what's going on and trying to, you know, make sure that we cover everything to make sure that they're as safe as can be. And that's how it started off, and everything kind of began to happen from there, you know. That's when they started telling us all these information that.
And so your life as a dispatcher, you have to juggle many different things. Talk to us about the many different things that you have to experience on a daily basis by being a dispatcher.
Well, as a dispatcher, you know, you're dealing with the public. We're answering phone calls. We're finding out, you know, helping them figure out where they are, what's going on, you know, the best way that we could help them, whether they need a trooper or not, or what it is they need, or if it's like medical. We're also doing like all the other things as well. We're also confirming warrants. We're talking to our troopers, telling our troopers where they need to go. We're letting them know, like, you know, all the important information that we gather from our phone calls to give to our troopers. That way, when they go out there, they kind of know what to expect, and they're, you know, well aware of their surroundings and what's going on, because even the littlest of information that we could get to them makes a big difference, and it helps promote that much more public, like, trooper safety in our sense, because that is our number one priority, is trooper safety and making sure that our officers are safe when they arrive to a scene.
And I'm going to get to you guys after this, but they all say you're the lifeblood of what they do. And so it's very important because you hold a civilian job, and we're trying to get more dispatchers, which is, so after this we're going to bring in Officer McClarty to the fact of what we have to do, but you've been doing this now for 2 years. If I may ask, before this, what were you doing and what made you want to go this career path?
I was actually selling timeshares prior to this, and the reason that I chose a profession like this is I actually went through similar situation where I had to be the one on the other side of the line. I was the one making the 911 phone call, you know, and I just remember that day was not very easy for me. It was not pleasant, and I know I was not pleasant on the phone either. You know, it was one of the worst days of my life, and I just remember talking to that one person that made everything feel like it was going to be okay for that spur of the moment. And although, like, I felt like maybe I'm not ready to be, you know, sworn officer yet, maybe I want to be someone that can be there for someone during that crisis, be that voice, their calmness, you know, when everything in the world seems like it's falling apart. And I wanted to make a difference. And to me, I just wasn't feeling like, you know, selling timeshare was it for me. So that's where I decided to look into the different career paths, and I found that as a dispatcher, you're a civilian, you know. I'm not out here arresting people, writing tickets, but I'm there to help my officers, and I'm there to help the public, keep them safe, you know, keep them, you know, calm and feel like they're important when situations feel out of control.
I think it's fantastic. And again, we thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'm going to get to you. I just saw you kept shaking your head. Every time that she would say something, you'd be like, yep, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yep.
And she's part of the family. And so you work for the Nevada State Police. You have all the benefits that they do when it comes to pensions and all this type of stuff. Go into recruiting, and then I'm going to bring you in. Go ahead. Talk to us about the recruiting and the fact of the dispatchers, how we need them.
My head nodding was
Yes.
because of, I always relate to the why. Like, she had the why of why she's here. And then there's some other stuff going on in my brain as well, but I can't bring that up right now, and I'm gonna rope her into it after the show, because I have an idea
Yes.
Okay.
and we're gonna run with it.
Yes.
All
Well,
right.
actually, more of us have an idea, but I'm
Very
gonna bring
nice.
her in on it
Yes.
I liked her why.
I like
Yeah.
it.
No.
Um, And to tag on to what she was speaking about, like the dispatcher and the calming voice, and you said the lifeblood, and then I started bringing in these analogies in my head too. So a lot going on in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they are the lifeblood for us, right? So if
Uh-huh.
she has a voice like an adrenaline, right, it's going to make us, escalate things. So her being able to have a calming voice, calm to the storm that we're having in front of us, it helps us out a lot. So literally, they are the lifeblood for us. So if they're having a adrenaline dump, that might escalate us as well. So her having a calming voice and, bringing stability to it helps out greatly.
Yeah, no. And Major Honey, when he sat here with us, he said, listen, we need more dispatchers. Like, the dispatchers that we have are really overwhelmed. They're doing the most fantastic job, but we need to get more, right? And so we need to get more troopers. We need to get more parole and probation officers. But we also have a directive to the fact of that there are civilian positions that are available. And so Officer McLarty worked in the hotel and casino industry. Okay? But now he's doing this, right? You were selling timeshares and now you're doing this. You retired and came back and now you're doing this. And so the best part about this is that these are 3 different situations. And now look at where all 3 of you are, and you're all working for the Nevada State Police in some form or capacity. And so I think it's fantastic.
But you know what? We talked about this before too. It's the love of the department and what they do for us. We talked about us being a small group that everybody knows everybody, and it's like family. And everybody is treated like family, which we love about it. And yes, we do need our Nevada dispatchers. And if you're looking at just trying something out for dispatching, we're allowing people to come in and sit with the dispatcher and find out, hey, is this a job for me? And it doesn't cost you anything but time to see if that's a job for you. And I always tell people, hey, go to NevadaStatePolice.com. If you're looking at jobs, we have civilian jobs, we have sworn jobs. So you can probably find a match if you always wanted to be connected to law enforcement but didn't want to do law enforcement. She's a perfect example of what she wanted to do. And I love her story. And one thing about our dispatchers too is when a crash happens or something major happens in somebody's life, it's very traumatic. And we don't know what situations they're going through, but our dispatchers are trained and they handle these calls very calmly. And they're very fluid, not only with the people they're talking to, but to the troopers. So we always know every detail that needs to be known at the time, because they don't want to put us in a dangerous situation. They want to make sure everybody remains calm, and they keep that composure while they're working. And they do an amazing job. I tell dispatchers all the time, I can't do your job.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do.
I was built to do different and deal with the public a lot differently, but I still give everybody the respect that they need. And I couldn't do it without our dispatchers. I love our dispatchers, and like I always say, they're my lifeline. So if I don't call them in a half an hour, she's calling me in a half an hour saying, hey, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
This is your check-in to make sure I'm okay. So I can't speak any more highly. Even when I retired, I gave a shout out to our dispatchers because I love them that much. They truly are a lifeline. So
We went up to that war room up at your
amazing,
place there,
ain't it?
right?
Yeah.
And that was Trooper Wellman before she became corporal and did the academy. And I just remember we weren't allowed to talk to the dispatchers at that time. But I just remember on the left it was the FAST, and then on the right was the dispatcher, and the dispatcher was a gentleman. And he had one phone here, he had one phone here, he had 7 monitors here, he's typing here, he's on it. I mean, it was like, but the best part about it was this guy was calm. Again, we couldn't talk to him, so it was, right? But like you could see his motions, and he wasn't like, oh my God, no, he was like, he was typing, and then he would pick up his phone, and you know what I mean? And you knew that this man knew exactly what he was supposed to be doing. Like, you know what I mean?
They're great multitaskers.
I
Great
wanna-
multitaskers. I mean, they got to be on a computer. They got to take a phone
Yeah.
call. They have to get on the radio, call us, know what's going on. So they're communicating while holding onto the phone.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because they still keep them on the phone. Like 911 emergencies, when that happens, it's not like, oh, I'm sending you a trooper and they get off the phone. They stay with you. They want to know what's going on until a trooper arrives. Even our other agencies in the valley, they do the same thing. They stay with them the whole time until officers arrive, and then once the officers arrive and they say they got it, then they just go back to doing what they're doing with the dispatch. So it's amazing. I mean, you got to do, you do have to be a multitasker, but I tell you what, with any job, when you first start out, it's a little overwhelming. I mean, even for troopers, I mean, we're learning Nevada laws, and we're going to firearms and defensive tactics. There's so much to learn. But once you do it, and get through all that, and you're doing it on a daily basis, it just comes easily. It's just, and she could probably tell you that. After a while, like that guy you saw was so calm, he's got it down. I mean, he's like, hey, I got this. I got this.
It was amazing.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to get to some pictures, but so you've been doing this now for 2 years. My question is this: so, so the recruitment. So they go to, and I'm looking at both of you, because they go to parole and probation or trooper right off the start for sworn position. But in unsworn position, if you could talk us through what that process was like for you, from start to sort of finish, so people that are watching, they have like a first-hand count to that.
Of course, yeah. So first, you of course got to go through backgrounds. That's why it's so important, to make sure that you have a clean record and you make good choices. And then after that, you actually got to do this thing called the critical test, and that's basically like a test that everybody does that just like tracks your like multitasking, your basic, English skills, and just your ability to, type and stuff like that, because that's something that's really important. Now, once you kind of get through all of those stages and you, of course, pass through the interview process, then you go through like a little academy that we have that is our own. So we go through, like, we have to learn our 10 codes, of course, because we all use 10 codes. You have to learn the map. So for us, with Nevada State Police dispatchers, we actually dispatch for the entire state. So we dispatch for Reno. We also dispatch for Elko and down here in Las Vegas. We're not just based in Las Vegas, but we have the whole entire state of Nevada since we're Nevada State Police. So we kind of have to learn like the map of all the different areas, and we have to learn, the different steps you need to take. But like you said, it's a lot of multitasking. So we're also like on the phone, we're dispatching our troopers to different, situations. We're also confirming warrants, and we're doing tow requests for our troopers when they're out on scene on things. So they kind of, I think our training division is just amazing. We have great trainers, and they are able to, take us through every process, and they don't just be like, okay, here's the steps, go do it yourself, They're kind of with you through each step, and they make sure that you are doing what you need to do in order to keep our troopers safe, because that is our number one priority, and that is something that they make sure that they embed in your brains when you're doing everything that you're doing. Is no matter what, just make sure that your trooper and your officer are safe, and make sure the public is safe in everything you do. So they really have a great program where they do teach you everything that you need to learn. And you also get, on-job training. That's where you learn as well, because they can't teach you everything. There's always going to be that one thing that occurs and you're just like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? It's something that you have to learn. But there's so many people in the training, like in our office, that everyone helps each other. We're, like you said, we're a really great family. We all love each other. We love our troopers, and we all help each other no matter what it is. And there's always somebody there to answer your question or help guide you when you need it.
Officer McClarty, we need to get...
Tag me in real quick.
We need to get her on the thing over there, right?
Go,
no, before I lose it. So just think about the journey that how old were you when you started?
I was 23.
Right? So 23, but you could start when you're 18.
Yes.
Right? And then I'm going to pick up what she put down a little bit ago, where she said, maybe I don't want to be an officer or a trooper at this time. Right?
Right, 100%.
So maybe that thought's in her brain.
Right.
It is?
Yes, it
And
is.
she can
right?
switch at any time.
It really is.
So now my recruiter ear is perked up, right?
Right.
So
Right.
we're going to have a conversation after this as well.
Right.
So at 18, you can start this position. So if you're not really thinking about being a trooper or an officer at that
18
time,
for dispatcher.
18 at dispatch. You seeing the process
Wow.
that she went through. So she went through background. She went through her own field training academy. But now I'm learning these 10 codes. Now I'm, seeing the job. Maybe that's something that you want to transition to.
And they're getting
And,
state time.
you're starting when you're 18, so
Yep.
you're starting your state time now.
Right.
So as you
Which
progress,
is tremendous.
yeah, as you progress, you're gonna have a way better start than most people do right out of high school.
You're closer to retirement by
It-
doing
Right.
that.
No,
you
that's
know.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
17 and a half or 18?
It kind of depends on how long their training is, and I'm not too familiar with how long the actual,
Okay.
how
But-
long's your academy.
Our academy was around like 7 months, but then it goes kind of longer because you have like you're training with somebody next to you at all
Yeah.
times
So
after that too.
So that's possible. I mean,
So
you
could
don't
you-
really graduate high school until you're about 18 anyways.
Right.
But if you wanted to apply prior to that, as long as you're 18 by the time you're done with training,
Right.
then I don't see that
Yeah.
issue.
And-
Because
and-
even in the academy, you can be 20 and a half. As
Right,
long as you're
that's what I'm
21 by the
saying.
time you get pinned on,
when you
right?
when you get pinned on.
Yeah.
And so people in today's world
Mm-hmm.
are looking for things that they can work towards. And again, if you're 18 and you put in 25 or 30 years, by the time you're 48, you have a tremendous pension. And you know what I mean? Like, not to say you have a lot left on your life, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of
And a lot of things, I think with age, though, you have to retire. You have to be at least 55 by the time you reach your retirement. But
oh, that's even better.
you're almost at a full retirement by the time you're 55.
But I got to correct you on
Yeah.
as an officer, you could start at 20 and be retired at 45 and collect full retirement. All you have to do is have that 25 years, or is they changed it to
I
30?
think it's 30. Yeah.
30 now. I apologize. 30. So,
Yeah.
but at age 50,
30 or age, I think.
at age 50,
Yep.
you're retired and you have that paycheck for the rest of your life.
Rest of your life.
And that's what you got to think about. A lot of people put in 401ks and they hope
Yeah.
that it doesn't plummet. And remember Enron and all this stuff where they
Right.
lose everything. And you got all these older people going back to work. This is the state. I mean,
This
it would
is the
take a
state of
major
Nevada.
thing to happen, like nationally or state, to kind of go under. And even though these funds are in our PERS, which is our public employee retirement system that we have out there, it's very solid. I mean, it's in the billions, and it's making sure that everybody is getting paid for the rest of their life. So
Yeah, it's
that is,
tremendous.
you can't beat that. That's a blessing in itself. So.
All right, so we're gonna run out of time. We're not even
Sure,
gonna
sure.
get to the pictures. But here's what I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
We talked before. We were gonna figure out how to do the sign twirling. You know what I mean, between all of us, because you brought a great sign.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I'm gonna say to you. One of the things that we want to touch on is the fact of officer wellness, because officer wellness is very important. And so in officer wellness, you said, listen, I have an idea. And I said, what's that? And you said, maybe we can start to bring different types of books on the show, because people that are in my profession, they like time to just read and just relax. And this is one of the things. And so this is your friend.
Yes, I know this person personally.
So tell
And
us
then
tell us about this
yeah,
book.
let me tell you
And
a
we're
little
going
bit
to
about
start
this
the
book.
Trooper Talk Book
Well-
Club.
Well, I don't know if we're going to start the book club,
Yeah.
Neil, but you know what? I wanted
Tell
to
me.
get this out. And,
Yeah, tell me.
And this is a phenomenal cop, because some of the people that watch our show like crime stories.
Yeah, of course.
And they like to hear what cops are doing out there. But this is a phenomenal cop. This is a guy, I'm going to just read just a little bit. He infiltrated drug rings, purchased weapons from murderers, and even sold machine guns to cartel members, all while walking the tightrope between duty and danger. As an undercover cop, you looked like a criminal, played the role, and in plain sight, and targeted the bad guys. Now, this gentleman, Paul Malone, he's knocked down over 1,000, busted down over 1,000 doors because he was on a SWAT team. So he was a narcotics agent, went undercover agent, and then he was on the SWAT team for over 16 years in Omaha. And tremendous book for stories. If anybody wants to read that, you'd be amazed, and it'll keep you on the edge of what really goes on with a SWAT officer or people that work undercover in the job field of being a police officer in the city. So highly recommended book. if anybody wanted to read something like that, I recommend reading something like that. That's if you like crime stories and stuff going on within some of the city police that deal with that.
You deal with people that make bad choices sometimes. That doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they sometimes make bad choices. And you have to follow the law to ensure that those people are following what they were supposed to do by either being out on probation or out on parole. And so the life of a probation and parole officer is not, oh, I'm just walking around and I walk into people's houses and I do these things. You put your life on the line every single day because you go into places that might have doors, that might have a closet, that might, and so with what it is that you do, you have the firsthand experience that you're able to talk to people that want to go into the parole and probation so that you can explain to them what it is that you encounter on a daily basis. As well, you encounter people that unfortunately, not directly on a specific case, but people that have taken someone's life because of their driving habits. When we deal with these type of things, we know you on a personal level and you laugh and you joke and all this, but you take your job seriously. Talk to us about that.
Right. So just going through the life of a parole and probation officer, you're going into these different houses and you're seeing how people live. So we actually have the opportunity to maybe affect change of how they're living. And that part I take seriously is the advice part. So advice, he's talking about 401ks, like I'm talking about jobs, I'm talking about all this stuff with these people to hopefully, embrace a change in them where they make better decisions. They're not back on supervision, because our goal is to try to get them to better their lives, whether that's going to counseling, getting jobs, getting housing, and going out and being a great, member of the community where they're going to affect change in somebody else. So it's a trickle effect, or, hopefully it branches out and touches everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important because you're trying to put a positive spin on, telling people that there's so much better in life out there to just, try. And you do all those things as the Nevada State Police. You try to find the person a job, you help with housing. There's many different things that you do when a person is coming out or on probation, for that matter. And so it's very important that the Nevada State Police, that they do these things for that reason, right?
Right. If they're coming to see us for the first time and I'm coming there with a negative attitude, like I guess berating them or giving them the old, negative talk of what they've done, they're not going to go anywhere. They might get worse. So we have to kind of look past what they've been charged with and then move forward and not look back.
Yeah.
Look back enough to where they understand that they did something wrong, but look forward enough to that they can be better.
Yeah, and it's very important because although they made a bad choice, that doesn't mean that they're a bad person. That they still need to be a better member of society. And so that's why, like, the Hope for Prisoners, and these type of things are fantastic because we're trying to rehabilitate someone that might have not had the greatest childhood or whatever that sent them in the wrong direction, right? Dispatch.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
I was gonna say there's a couple things I wanted to get because we're kind of running short on time.
Yeah.
But I wanted Seiko
you
to
wanted
explain.
to do the sign twirling.
Well, I'm gonna do that at the end here, but hold on to that. Hold on to that thought, Neil. Hold on to that thought. But I wanted Seiko to explain because this whole week is National Telecommunicators Dispatch Week. So I wanted to get this on the show and have her kind of explain. She brought a proclamation from the governor too for our dispatchers.
Let's read that.
But I want her to kind of explain what's going on nationwide with our dispatchers, and it's kind of an exciting week. I mean, And one of the things, a lot of these people always from all over like bring donuts to their, they got like 8 or 10 boxes of donuts, and I'm like, next year I told our head PIO up north, Kim, you know Kim, I said, you know what, next year we're gonna buy them a fruit platter, because they got to have something that's, like cheese and crackers or fruit. We just can't be buying all these donuts because they got like 8 or 10 boxes of donuts up there.
Yes.
So, but I want her to kind of explain a little bit about the National Telecommunicators Dispatch Week for this whole week, and what's been going on nationwide and what it compromises. Not to put you on the spot.
No, not
So
at
you
all.
have to. Did you hear what Officer McClarty said? She has to be even keeled. She can't be like 15 donuts and eating it. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right. That's right. We don't want something happening here where we cause medical issues down the road.
Exactly.
So,
They need us. And
yeah,
we need
that's
them.
right. We need them too.
Yes. So tell us what you have here. Tell
So
us.
this is just our proclamation that we got from the governor. This is from Joe Lombardo, and this is just something that shows that he proclaimed April 14th to the 20th as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. So it's basically just a week that we, take to appreciate our dispatchers and our, people who are talking to our troopers and getting all the information that's needed. It's to help offer support for them, make sure that they're in a good, stable place. It's just to kind of recognize them and then just show them that they are the first responders. We may not be a sworn officer, but we're the first people that are there. We're talking to these people who of course need to have patience from talking to us, because we ask a lot of questions. We need their patience because we're asking questions. We're, it almost feels like we're asking them a lot of questions, and they get kind of annoyed sometimes, but it's like we're asking questions that are needed
reason.
Yes, of course, to keep our officers safe, to keep them safe. And it's just to, thank us and thank all the people that are working as a dispatcher, just to thank them for their service, their time, because we also, although we're not on scene with them, we're also hearing all these people. We're hearing all their tragedies that are happening at the moment. And I think that it's super important that they do something like this just to kind of recognize us and give us that, opportunity to be recognized by our officers and by everybody.
Yeah, we love it. Governor Lombardo's a dear friend. He's fantastic, and we love him tremendously. When it comes to the proclamation, it's very important, that the governor does these type of things, because we know that, coming from a law enforcement background, that he really supports the law enforcement and things of that nature. What I want to know is, on a typical day, how many hours that you work, right? How many hours do you work typically, and what is a typical work week for a dispatcher? And are you like, do you take breaks? I mean, like what? I want to understand that from a dispatcher.
Of course, yeah. So we're actually 410. So we work four shifts throughout the week, and we get 3 days off, and we work 10-hour shifts. Like you said, recruiting is very important, and we are, short staffed. So a lot of times we are working more than 10 hours. Oftentimes, or we come in on our day offs to assist as well, because there are a lot of different events that sometimes also need a dispatcher. So we come and volunteer to do those things as well, and you get overtime for that, but that's something totally different. Typical day is you can come into work. You got to be there kind of earlier. That way you can pick up somebody who's about to leave for the day, so you can grab their radio, because we never leave a radio channel unmanned. There always has to be somebody on a radio channel. We don't let them talk to the air, So we pick up our channel. We log into our computers. We get logged into all the different systems that we need in order to get, be able to do what we need to do. And then we're answering phone calls. We do get breaks. We don't have a lunch break. We actually eat at our desk, so half the times when they're, calling up a 10-6 or something, I'm like trying to eat
a
really
little bit of
quickly.
food right there, yeah.
And I sound kind of weird and muffled. It's probably because there's food in my mouth and I have braces, so it makes it a little harder. So, but it's great, we contribute to each other. So there's always a breaker. So that person will pick up your radio channel while you go and you take your break, and you have some time to go outside, get some fresh air, because we are indoors the whole entire time. So being able to go outside, get some fresh air, see the sun, and get more human contact is wonderful.
Right.
And then at the end of our shift, whoever comes in next, we pass on the channel. We let them know, hey, A, B, and C is going on this thing. Maybe this certain call needs to be, noticed, and hey, this is happening. Just be cautious of this and make sure you're aware of what's going on. And then that's our typical day. We get to go home to our families and
And
live a
you,
personal
you
life.
can't take your personal phone call, your personal cell phone into while you're at work, right?
We could take it with us, but they require us not to be on it while we are dispatching, because in a second you could be on your phone, you know, scrolling through TikTok
Yeah.
or whatever you're doing, and a officer could be in a troubling situation where they're gonna be like, I need the channel. If you're not paying attention, you know, there's a slight second that you could miss that could put them in danger.
But if a dispatcher had a family, they would be able to, like, in case of an emergency.
Oh, they'd be able to
Yeah.
call,
like
call
what
in.
I'm saying is they have a way that they would be able to at least see a text in the case of an emergency for their family or something like
Of
that.
course, yeah. There's always that option. Like if there's an emergency, there's also the option. Oh, excuse me. There's also the option that they could call into dispatch as well, and the request to speak with somebody if it's an emergency. You know, so there's never like a moment where you're not like ready or prepared for your family.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And again, you know, when it comes to the dispatchers, you know, I want to take the fact that it is a non-sworn job, but Officer McClarty over there cannot wait to talk to you after this.
Oh,
show
yeah, I
is
think
over.
he's
I
gonna
know, look
regret
at
it.
his big smile.
But you can't take her from dispatch. We need dispatch.
Not
right
taking her
now,
from
so,
dispatch, you know
yeah.
what I mean? But I want
Maybe down the road.
I
when we get
want
more.
to
Yeah.
I want to finish this edition of Trooper Talk with that exact thing in mind. Because if someone is 18 or, you know, 17 and a half, whatever it is, I think it's wonderful that they would be able to be around
Exactly.
everybody that's there, just like yourself. Now you're there for a couple years, right? So now you know a lot of the men and women that work for the Nevada State Police. And so it becomes more comforting to be like, listen, you know, I'm thinking about this, or, you know, what do I have to do for this? Now, let me ask you this. If she was to go from dispatch to a trooper or parole and probation, she would then have to do the whole academy like a normal trooper or
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
But
Like, they wouldn't make a difference.
There's a but in there though.
Yes. Okay. Listen.
So if she were to do the entire academy,
Yes.
how much of a leg up she would have? She would be lights out, you know.
She knows
I don't
the
want to
10
use the word better,
codes. She got
but she's
a
already
lot
got
of-
this experience that she has that,
oh,
you know,
I see. Okay.
she'd be so much more ready than the average person.
Would she get? Does she get like you know how if you speak Spanish or you have the
Like
diff-
bilingual pay?
right? Like you know how you get the extra, like you know by PIO or these type of things. Would she get more if?
She wouldn't necessarily get more, and it kind of depends on what pay grade she's at.
Right.
And that's a little bit deep in the woods. I would.
Yeah,
be
but
able to- yeah.
the important
Yeah.
thing is that she would have. I like the fact that she would have a leg up.
Absolutely.
Because she understands the roadways, the codes, all these type of things. So that
And then even
yeah.
too, the mental picture that it's training. Like you're training all the time. Like for us, like we put ourselves in situations just mentally sometimes where we're already thinking of a situation that may have happened, or we've watched a situation that's happened. You have that mental gameplay in your head that, and you're in that situation, you kind of know what to do.
They're experiencing it with us.
Now she's
like these
experiencing that.
dispatchers. Yep.
Mentally, to where if she's in that situation, she's like, hey, I remember this trooper did this. She already has that experience already, you know, that mental capacity
Right.
to do it.
But
It's
I'd
to our
also be
advantage.
perfect for like every dispatcher
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I know how I like things on the radio, so I know how a dispatcher would want
Yeah,
to
she would
hear
be
me.
way better than us on the radio.
right.
Yeah, because she deals with it and she
No,
knows what they
but-
want.
but that's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying.
She gets
Yeah.
both sides of the
So-
story.
Yeah.
So the positivity in that is that if you're interested in the Nevada State Police as a home and as a family, that by the time you come and you start doing things, the amount of love that is there, and the acceptance and the fact of coming from leadership. You know, you mentioned it 4 times. You know what I mean about the leadership. We don't know the leadership of the dispatchers, but I know the leadership from the Nevada State Police end, and they're the most fantastic. And so when you speak of what you speak, I can only imagine that the supervisor is right there, and you're like, I don't understand, and they want to answer because we love the troopers, and so we want to make sure they're always safe and stuff like that. And so it's fantastic, right? Final words.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. I'll have
No.
them do final words, and I want to do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Let's have the guest speaker, other than me,
right. I think it's
have the.
So when it comes to your final thoughts of being here today, again, we appreciate that you take the time and come down here and spend time with us, and you know what I mean. Your insight is invaluable, and so the calmness is what's very important. You know what I mean? And I had to call the NHP once, and I just remember being like, I'm on 95 in Charleston. And she's like, sir, calm down. You're not there. You're at this. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, tell us your final thoughts.
You know, I thank you so much for having me once again, you know. But like you're talking about together, everything together, it's a great spot, I think, as a dispatcher to kind of see, you know, if you're interested in the law enforcement field, but you're not sure whether you want to be sworn, it's a great place to be. You know, we really are family. We take care of our troopers. We take care of each other. You know, we're able to, you know, go home at night and feel good that we're helping people, you know. We're there for their scariest moments of their life, you know. We're able to do something that we love, and it makes you feel good at the same time.
Do we actually have time for, if you have a story of
Yes.
a story of while you're dispatching, this is why I'm doing my job kind of story, like this
Yes.
is the moment, like this is what I'm doing this job for because of this specific time, dispatching.
Yeah, I currently, like we're talking about, you know, drunk drivers. I had one of those accidents where that was a fatal accident, and I had this guy, he was just a bystander. He called in and he was absolutely freaking out. Like, he was screaming at me, he was cussing at me, you know, he was absolutely in a whirlwind. He didn't know what was going on, and he had no idea where he was, so we had to, you know, I couldn't tell him calm down, because that does not help you calm down.
Right. Same
I
for
had
us.
to just be like, you know, take a
use that
breath. Take a breath with me, sir, you know, just what's going on, like, you know, and you're just figuring out what's going on. And during that moment, he was like, this car just rolled over in front of me. And, you know, somebody had hit this car and the vehicle rolled, and he's like, I think someone flew out, but I'm not sure. He wasn't really sure what was going on, you know. And all I could hear in the background was like this little kid screaming like, Dad, Dad, and you know, and that's when it kicked in, and I was like, oh no, like, you know. So the first thing I had to do was I sent medical out there. I figured out where he was. I got medical out there as soon as possible. I talked with him, you know, I made him know that, like, I'm here, you know, you're not by yourself. And then once we got to a position where he was, you know, he was okay, he figured out what's going on, he kind of knew where he was, what was happening, and he was able to be, you know, there in that situation. And I told him, like, are you able to assist with, you know, like, life-saving measures for this person, because he was able to find the person. And he's like, yeah. And that's when I would conference him with medical, and I got him to assist the person, you know, even though you don't know exactly what's going on, because they're the people that are on scene. I don't know, I can't see. They're on scene. They have to be able to help me help them, you know, figure out what's going on, get our troopers out there, get medical safety out there. And in that moment, that was when I knew, like, this is a situation that I felt like this is why I'm here. Because I know this guy was just, you know, driving just another regular day, probably going anywhere. And, you know, he runs into a situation where he has no idea what's going on. It's a, you know, life or death situation. He's not prepared for something like this. He doesn't even know this person. And, you know, it puts you in a panic, and it's understandable. So that's a really good situation that I feel like that's the reason that I chose to be where I am right now.
Excellent.
Even then, she was calm. Even when she said the guy was cursing at her,
Mm-hmm.
you hear that? Like,
You
she
have
was
to
like,
be,
you
yeah.
know, the guy was cursing at me and this and that. And it was like, you know, I'd be like, okay, sir, you need to calm down 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Just relax. You know what I mean? Just relax. But no, again, we're not dispatchers.
Absolutely.
You know
I
what I'm
couldn't do their
saying?
job.
Right.
Absolutely.
And
And thank
so-
God that we
right.
have them and what they
My
do for
voice
us.
would monotone. That would be the end of the game, and you know, the trooper would be like, "What's going on?" But it's very important. You know what I mean? So you know, when it comes to a story like this, you know, we have to understand that, you know, you're at a place where you're very calm, and that you need to make sure that the person on the phone, as frantic as they are, and no matter what it is that they're possibly going through, that you just have to remain calm.
Yeah, you have to.
I couldn't do it. I would tell you that. I always say that it takes a very special person to be an officer, because when there's danger, I'm running this way, but then they're running that way. But when it comes to a dispatcher, again, it's very heartwarming. This is the third dispatcher that we've had, and they're all the same.
Very
They-
rewarding.
they-
That's
they-
why
they
they need
always
to be
talk and they
recognized.
did- yeah, listen.
absolutely.
Yes.
It's
Because they
fantastic.
do a phenomenal job for
But
us.
don't send donuts.
Yeah. Next time maybe more healthier food. I don't know, but because I don't think they can, take all that in, right? Am I
no,
right?
I actually don't
but-
eat donuts, so.
Right, so
Hey, one thing
I'm
I
all
do
with
want to
it.
say, Neil, this weekend we're going to get back up in the 90s. So we're going to see people driving all over. I don't want people driving crazy. I want to bring this back up.
He's doing
this
this.
whole
He's
month.
doing the sign twirling.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
doing the
excited.
sign twirling. But you know what? April 1st to the 20th was distracted driving. And with distracted driving, it's not just like, eating, or it's anything that takes your eyes and mind off the road. So what I want to tell people over the weekend is plan ahead, pay attention to others, be mindful to others. Don't let somebody that's driving crazy, don't let them get under your skin and have you do something crazy like a road rage or anything like that. So I just want everybody to buckle up, drive safe, slow down, enjoy the weekend. It's going to be warm. And that's our advice to you is just enjoy the weekend. You know what I mean? And be safe and be mindful to others.
The thing is that now, I wasn't even thinking about that, but now that the weather is coming out, and it
You
is
have more
warmer,
people driving.
Yeah, people want to drive faster. They think it's in Indianapolis Speedway over here. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they have to slow down. And if they have a car or a truck that is not made to go 100 miles an hour, please do not make it go 100 miles an hour, and these type of things.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. Thank you again for your insight and hanging out with these two guys, right?
Yeah,
Anytime.
that's tough.
Right? It's
Anytime,
fantastic.
you
You know what I'm
two.
saying?
Yeah.
So, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Neil.
We love when
Appreciate
you guys
it.
come on, and we're gonna get both of them to do the sign tour. Both of you guys, the flip
Off
the
camera.
sign. You know what I'm saying?
Well, not only that, they're going to have this major conversation. I'm kind of curious what's going to happen here afterwards. If he's going to try to do a little recruiting,
yeah.
because that's why Douglas. I mean, it's amazing. He's got 50 people coming, and if we can bring their friends, I mean, come on. And anybody looking at doing like dispatching, or parole and probation, highway patrol, we are always hiring. So go to NevadaStatePolice.com. And we'd love to have you. You can do ride-alongs with the Highway Patrol, ride-alongs with parole and probation. You can do a sit-along with dispatch,
Yep.
and kind of see if this is what you want to do. So we'd be excited to have you come out and try it out. So we want everybody to have a great weekend, and thanks for watching the show. We love our audience. So thank you.
50 people. Though.
It's amazing. It's
like,
amazing.
you know what I mean? Like, this is like, again, when it comes to the law enforcement, there was a period of time where, some people, had all these adverse opinions and things like this. But we've always said we love our troopers. We love our officers. And so this is becoming self-evident. And I put the extra, in doing this to the fact of what we keep doing. You know what I'm saying? You keep making those videos, right? You keep putting your heart and your soul into the fact of not only the parole and probation, but into the recruiting. And it's just fantastic. You know what I mean? We hope that next Trooper Talk we have 75.
Absolutely.
All right,
We'll
thanks
work
so
on it.
much, all right?
Yep.
All right, turn this camera right here, and we're going to wave goodbye, okay?
All right.
See you later.